0. All engine running.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucer. The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat.
Just before 9 o'clock this morning in New York, the passenger jet, which had taken off from Boston, slammed into the World Trade Center. Thick black smoke blotted out the Manhattan skyline.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Esoteric Roundtable. I am your host, Justin, joined here by my other host, Ben. We have our first returning guest, our good boy Dedeaux over here. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we've been gone for like fucking ever. We've had a lot of life things going on between us all. I think me and Ben both have different backgrounds here. We both ended up getting new places, and I got a new job. And there's just been a lot going on that's been keeping us from doing the old round table. But I think we're back, and we'd like to stay back. So we appreciate you guys coming to join us here today. Do you guys have anything to jump in before I step on any toes?
I'll start
Right,
with
that's
like
enough for you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll start with the fact that like this episode and the theme of it, basically, you know, Justin and I kind of got into reading a little bit, and I picked up a Stephen King book, and me and Justin were talking about it, and I was telling him to read it, and then he talked to Justin about it, Dedeaux. And,
Yeah, you're gonna have to call me
We're
Dedeaux.
gonna have to call
I
him
don't
Dedeaux.
know who you're talking about.
My apologies. We'll restart that.
It's all good. Just don't let it happen again.
Anyway, I started reading a book by Stephen King, 11/22/63. I was really enjoying it. It was like, Justin, you need to read this. And so he told Dedeaux about it, and then turns out Dedeaux was like really into that book as well. And then kind of started like an informal book club. And so, which led us naturally to today's episode being banned books and everything about banned books. So that's pretty much it, Justin.
We're on the banned books, man. It's an interesting topic. I gotta say, when we first got into it, I was like, they're banning these books. They're making it impossible to find. And the more I look into it, it's like, yeah, high school took it off the library shelf. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, while there are some cases that we will get into where entire governments and things have banned the books, it's not a super common occurrence or whatever, but there's going to be some where they're not so much banned as they are pushed to the side or considered non-canon for things in whatever respective realm they stand in and things like that. But I feel like it is an important topic. It's a topic that comes up constantly. I'm not even going to say these days, even though it is a pressing matter, it's sort of in the news and things like that recently, but it's the idea of limiting access to books has been around for a very long time, as long as we've been fucking writing or scribbling on stones or whatever we've been doing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll get into our opinions on such matters as things go. But yeah. So you guys want to get right into it?
Let's go in, man. Let's go ahead.
Right on,
Do it.
man. Ben, would you like to start off with yours, man?
Yeah, I'll start off, dude. And I want to start by saying that I fundamentally do think there's a difference between banning books and making books age appropriated. And I'll say that with like, I don't think banning a book outright is ever a good thing. I believe that if a book exists, it can be age appropriated accordingly. Like, for instance, like pornography is something that you should be 18 or older to view in any public setting or purchase. And I think the same should go with books necessarily. Now, I will say that before I get into my certain books and things, not from a political standpoint, but just from a standpoint of like, hey, listen, should children really be reading this? as a result of tax dollars. Like, hey, our tax dollars are buying these books for school libraries. Should they have access to this kind of material? On the contrary, though, is I don't believe that books should be removed from public libraries. If your parents or if you're a parent of a child and you say, hey, my kid can read this, take them to the public library and let them rent it. Or let's go to the bookstore and I'll buy it for you. But having access to, I would say, like certain material being, you know, pretty explicit or graphic at a certain age. And I was telling Justin this last night that I think it's a slippery slope either way. And when you think about it, like outright banning books is never a good thing. But is age appropriation also something that could be bad as well? Like, because we were talking about certain books like Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler. Like, should that book be age appropriated or banned when it's a historical book? It's really deep rooted in World War II history. Doesn't mean you have to align with the beliefs of it to read it if you're studying something historical, but things of that nature. And I'm not going to mention specific books that I'm talking about being age appropriated. There's enough, you know, videos of Congress talking about that. And
Fox News, and you'll hear all about
yes. But there are some cool books that have been banned previously that I really think are cool and that I've even enjoyed. And Justin has probably read. I know he's read at least one of them. And Dedeaux has probably read or heard of and talked about before. But the first one I'm going to bring up, I think, is historically significant and is also kind of cool. Because we're several hundred years past this, so I guess you can call it cool. It's really not cool, but I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
Oh, here, let me.
Can you see my screen on the
It is
recording?
loading good stuff. There we go.
So the first book is Malleus Maleficarum, which translates to Hammer of the Witches. And what makes this book so interesting is that it is a guide.
Sick name, by the way. Hammer of the Witches. I'm sorry to cut in like that, but that goes so hard, dude.
Both of them, dude. Hammer of the Witches and Malleus Maleficarum. This book in particular was the Christian guidebook on how to identify witches or someone practicing witchcraft. And this was really the book that kickstarted and fueled the Salem witch trials. So, just some of the background on this one. Witchcraft had been forbidden by the church, whose viewpoint on the subject was explained in the that word, written in AD 900.
Give it a try.
Canon Episcopi.
Yeah.
It stated witchcraft and magic were delusions, and that those who believed in such things had been seduced by the devil in dreams and visions. So we see a lot of memes and jokes today. It's like, oh, you know, if you were in the 1400s, you're a witch. But yeah, a witch. But this was the book. What's up, Justin?
Is this like currently banned, or
I don't think it's currently banned. It was at
banned 1800s, dude.
Yeah, this was a book that was at one time banned by certain churches or governments and things like that. So you can still pull up like archives of this book, because it's this. If you have like an original print of this book, it's worth a significant amount of money. But very old book. I mean, written in the 1400s. So if you have a first edition copy of this, you got some bread coming your way.
You probably shouldn't touch it because it'll fucking turn to dust.
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel though that I discovered by accident called Moon's Rare Books, and he actually has a copy of this book, and it's old. It's really cool. So if you're into old books and rare books, check out Moon's Rare Books on YouTube. Pretty cool guy. Owns a bookstore, and I forgot where, but it's cool. I'd sent Dedeaux some of the videos at one point, but he has a copy of Malleus Maleficarum, and that was the first book I thought that'd break the ice. I thought it was pretty neat. Started a very historically significant movement, which some other books we're also going to discuss have started some historically significant movements. Probably not in a good way, but it has. And I'll let it move on to one of our other hosts.
Word. Dedeaux, would you like to go, or would you like me to jump in?
You go. I'm just a sounding board. I'm here for thoughts.
For sure. And also, I'd like to interject real quick. My computer absolutely shit the bed while we were trying to get ready to record today. I don't even know exactly what went wrong, but I would probably label it as everything. So I'm on my laptop. The recording stuff isn't set up as well. I don't have a lot of my original files, so we're kind of doing caveman mode here. Just a simple Discord call. As you can tell, the sound quality might suffer a little bit and things like that, but bear with us. We're trying to get back in the hang of things, and I'm gonna have to rebuild an entire computer, I imagine. So my kind of books that I was thinking about were had a more maybe philosophical approach, maybe a view of societal problems and things like that. And when I think of books like that, I think of George Orwell. He was writing like 1984, Animal Farm, and things like that. Let me pull up the stream here. And yeah, man. So I 1984 gets a lot of flack, or people who read 1984, I guess, get a lot of flack because in recent years it's like the whole internet joke of like, what are we, 1984, boy, we live in 1984. And I definitely think it's an overreach. Obviously, we have a lot more freedoms and normalcy than what the citizens of fucking, what are they, in Oceania or whatever.
Yeah,
but
Orwellian.
Yeah. It's fucking Orwell. But I think books like this really show an important. What am I trying to say here? They have a really important outlook on what could happen if we let the government continue on what I feel like is the path that they're on. I personally feel like, I don't want to put words in anyone else's mouth here, but we are on a pretty slippery slope towards totalitarianism with things like our current administration's picks and things like that, the people that we have, and it'd probably be more aligned with the technocracy, but George Orwell, if he would have fucking known what you know what I'm saying, a computer was and shit, he probably would have written about the technocracy as well. He probably would have summed them up to a pretty close thing too. So it's not an exact match. You're not going to read 1984 and be like, oh my god, this is exactly what's happening right now. But you're going to see the steps leading towards what's happening. In my opinion, it's going to be a pretty close call.
I'll say, man, with 1984, dude, the fact that book was written in 1949, and when you do read it, it's one of those, it's like that movie Threads that you had me watch that time. You know, it's like you read it, and then you have this heightened sense of awareness. You're like, oh, well, this has happened, and that kind of reminds me of 1984. Again, not to overreach and say like, oh, we're living in an Orwellian society or culture or totalitarianism, but you know, it does have some things that you're like, oh, this is kind of scary, and you kind of think about it more. So when I think of 1984, I think of a movie called Red Dawn, the original with Patrick Swayze. You ever watched that? That's what I think of when I read or think about 1984. And I just wanted to interject that. You can go back, Justin. I'm sorry, dude.
You're good, man. It's a good thing to interject on. I think it's an important thing to have a discussion on topics like this, because as soon as I've been saying, as soon as you bring up 1984, people are like, oh my fucking god, you know, there's one of these kids again. And I get it, because it has been turned into sort of a joke, but it's one of those things where I'm not sure that's done on accident. I feel like things like that, you know, when you have something as powerful as a book that can show you where governments can go wrong and see the problems that, you know, that the shit they're trying to slip under the table without people noticing, when you have things that pointed out. I mean, we all know the government's role in things like social media and things like that. It's not hidden anymore. Everything's come out about how they control certain algorithms or bot farms or whatever it may be to try to sway the social temperature on certain things. And I don't think it's 100% accident that things like this can get you laughed at. You know what I'm saying? When you point out you're just a conspiracy theorist, tinfoil hat wearer, or whatever. But yeah, I think it's really important, man, because there's a lot of things in the book, and I know I might go against some of the things I'm saying here, but there are going to be parts in the book where you read it and you're like, holy shit, dude, that's kind of what's happening right now. Things like the Ministry of Truth, where they just erase parts of history and try to rewrite it. I mean, we've seen that just in our lifetimes, the rewriting of certain historical points. If you disagree with a large majority of what people think on social media, then you're immediately shunned. People are losing their careers, their livelihoods over just opinions, and things like
ridiculous.
that. I mean, you turn in. It's just the machine, man. It's Big Brother. It's just happening. The other Orwell book I really want to talk about is Animal Farm. Ben, if you could pull up Animal Farm. Animal Farm, in my opinion, is more in line with what we're kind of seeing. It's a really interesting read. If you haven't read it, I really suggest you do, because it makes you take a bird's eye view. And this is, and what was it? 45 it was written, and holy shit, dude. I mean, there's
before 84,
yeah, there's a lot in this where you're just like, oh my god, like this is actually happening. One of the biggest parts that stood out to me in this book was the commandments written on the wall. Have either of you read Animal Farm?
I haven't read Animal Farm.
Okay, so there's commandments written on the wall. So basically, there's a farmer with a bunch of animals, and he treats the animals like shit. And finally, they run him out of the farm, and they're like, we're going to do our own thing, led by animals. Animals are going to rule animals. And the pigs, considering they have the biggest brain, the kind of higher intellectual capacity, they kind of take charge, but at first it's not really charge. They just, they're going to kind of point things in directions, but everybody has an equal job. And slowly but surely, the power goes to their head, and they just fully lock society down. They lock the farm down, and they control everything. And there's 10 commandments written. There's 10 commandments written on the side of a barn. I think I swallowed a bug there. That was pretty cool. There's 10 commandments written on a farm, on the barn. And it's just, I don't remember all of them, but I think one of the main ones, I believe the first one, is that all animals are equal. And slowly but surely, they start changing it. They will write things like, by the end it is, all animals are equal, and then by the end it's, but some are more equal than others. But the animals are so suppressed and oppressed by this point that they don't have the capacity to remember the original writings. So they wake up and they see these changes, and they are convinced that it's always been like this. And that is something I feel like we as a society, that's another thing that gets you pointing and laughing. I'm just gonna I'm a big cringe ball this one, boys. Sorry about that. But yeah, I feel like that's something that happens to us a lot. I mean, we get our freedoms taken away, and it's to the point where we don't even remember. I mean, me and Ben, and probably Dedeaux as well, before the Patriot Act, we were a completely different country, and there's so many freedoms that were slipped in. And I think our viewers have a pretty good idea on what we think about September 11th. Me and Ben, I don't want to throw Dedeaux under the bus here, but yeah, I think it goes without saying what we think about fucking 9/11 and who was in actual control of that. And then, we get the Patriot Act, and now our life will never be the same. Our freedoms will never be the same. We've been slowly changed, but now people don't even understand. We will never have the capacity to fully remember what it was like before we had so many freedoms taken away, and even things like social media and the surveillance state that we find ourselves slowly drifting to. We don't know what it's like before that, and it's just like we wake up and the commandment, but some animals are more equal than others. It's just happening slowly by.
Dude, that's a 92-page book too, man. I could read that in a day. Let's go,
read, dude. It's quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out.
But yeah, man, I think that's, and this one is another one that has been banned several times because of that. I mean, people read these books and they start to think and they question authority, and things like that is not. It doesn't fly with authoritarian regimes. I mean, it's in the fucking name. You know what I'm saying?
So I actually was doing a little research earlier today and yesterday. I knew 1984. I had heard of Animal Farm. I know a little bit about it. I've never read it, but 1984 and Animal Farm, it's pretty clear which places banned this. It wasn't really the U.S. government, but China, North Korea, and the USSR and Russia. They banned it. Now, China apparently has let Animal Farm, and 1984, they have let that book be released now, but it is a heavily edited version where everything is going to fall in their favor, more than likely.
Which, I mean, it's exactly what the fucking books are about. It's exactly Winston Smith in 1984. His entire job, his actual job for Big Brother, is going into past like newspapers and things like that, and books, not so much, but anyways, and editing them. So when people access them now, the current truth is what they see in the past. So if, say, production of boots has decreased by 20%, he goes and edits the original from like a year ago to say that they were actually only at 40%. So there's actually an increase of a certain amount. It's not a decrease at all. You guys just, you know what I'm saying? You remember incorrectly. And I mean, it's so fucking perfect. I mean, it's exactly what the books are about. And, you know, they have they're pretty anti-communist in their views. In a lot of places in America, Florida, we're looking at you, have banned these books for their communist sentiments. I don't expect Florida,
historically, right? Is it still banned in Florida?
Well, probably in certain schools and things. I don't expect them to know how to read. This is coming from a guy who went to school in Mississippi, so you can fucking flip the page right back on me. I understand that. But if you understand the context of what these books are, but you know, they're too busy with cousin loving and shit like that. But yeah, I think that's probably where I'm at on these books. That's really the two that I had.
There were during your little spiel, there's two books that came to mind for me. This is one. Have you read this?
I have not, but my wife is obsessed with the show right now.
Yeah, haven't read it either. I know about it, haven't read it.
Industry.
It's a pretty easy read. It's mainly focused on female oppression, but it's in line with kind of what you were saying about 1984. It's like what this could be, right? Of course, you know, whenever, you know, however many years ago, everybody was like, this, we're literally living the Handmaid's Tale right now. Do I think that's true at this point? Probably not. But it's a idea, right? It's a concept that could eventually come true. And people don't just create these concepts out of thin air, right? It's because there are indicators that these types of things could happen. Fantastic book, but it does go in line with exactly what you're saying about, you know, what things could eventually be. Do I think we're close to that? No.
But it's important to see the grand scope, the full outcome of this, so you can stop the snowball from rolling and growing into this. And that's
that's why they get banned, right? Because you can you know, the snowball grows quickly if people don't know about it.
It's the right? what is the frog in the boiling pot or whatever? It won't jump out if it grows gradually hotter. And that's exactly what's happening. Things are growing gradually. You know what I'm saying? They're getting slowly with every bill, every year, every 2 years maybe, something gets passed that takes one more right away, that takes one more freedom away. Or it blows up 3 buildings with 2 planes, and then it takes a lot of your fucking rights away. And then here we are. You know what I'm saying? I mean, exactly. It's sorry, dude. 9/11 always throws me off. Those motherfuckers, dude. I can't believe what Bush did.
It always comes back.
It always comes back.
The other book that came to mind, which was I guess is on the banned book list in certain places, is Lord of the Flies. I think one of you just read that recently. I don't know which one of you it
I
was.
bought it. I haven't read it yet.
Oh, Ben, did you read it? Was it you?
No, I haven't read it.
Anyway, so it's the same concept as kind of when you're talking about the pigs and Animal Farm, where the authority goes to their head. It's the same concept as like the Stanford prison experiment. Um, the concept is it's I haven't read it in like 10 years, but it's like this ship full of boys crashes and they're all on an island, and these boys who are, once a group of people separate, and then they start, in these two camps, they start going at each other, but like, and there's lots of violence, and I won't tell you too much more about it, but the fact that whenever, just knowing that if there's two parties, eventually they're going to go at each other. They can only be idle and be, compliant with each other for so long and neutral, and eventually they're going at each other because one wants to elevate above the other. Um,
Absolutely.
I think that's just a good bit of knowledge to have in general with the state of how we are today, right? Like you said earlier, people lose their jobs over simple opinions because if you don't agree with somebody, then you're immediately an outcast or you're out of the camp. So just understanding that like we naturally are pitted against each other. We don't need the social media putting us at each other even more, or
Right, and that's
you
something that, bringing back to our fucking, our glorious leaders. I mean, it's exactly the situation that we've been put in, and it's not accidental that there are two main parties that have turned into
right.
sports teams. I mean, you're either red or you're blue. If you're not, then
Yeah.
fuck you. I mean, even if you are, then fuck you. It's always fuck you at the end. It's always, and it's
Yeah.
100% intentional. And if you don't fall into either of those terms, then you're just a tinfoil hat wearing fucking weirdo, and
Right.
just drink the Kool-Aid, man. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Sorry, I cannot believe I didn't prepare more on Fahrenheit 451, but I mean that's exactly what the fuck we're talking about. Fahrenheit's about they just banned books entirely, and I don't know if either of you have read Fahrenheit, but it's
There's a lot of books I
interesting.
haven't read, brother. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest.
dude. It's
There's a
funny
lot I have and a lot that
because
I haven't. My to be read list is insane.
it's crazy
Yes.
because Dedeaux here actually got both me and Ben heavily back into reading books. When we were first doing the podcast, I was reading like excerpts from little things here, just trying to
Yeah.
pick up what I wanted to pick up. And Dedeaux, I mean, you can see his wall behind him there. It's a book fanatic, and he got us back into fully reading. So now it's kind of a big pastime of ours. Me and Ben are stuck on the Dark Tower series because it's
Yeah.
fucking super long, but it's so goddamn good, and I cannot bring myself to read anything else just because it's got me hooked.
I can't wait, dude. I cannot wait till y'all finish it.
Yeah, dude.
It's gonna be a while, brother. I'm gonna be honest. I'm
Well,
still on the second book.
Dude, you
Justin,
need to audiobook them hoes, bro. You gotta.
Dude, I feel like I would do them an injustice though. They're so good. I'm on drawing a 3 and I'm having a great time with it.
Don't disrespect Frank Mueller like that, motherfucker. All right. But anyways, Fahrenheit. Before we get
I got
too
it
far
pulled
off
up.
track. Oh yeah, we could do that too. So Fahrenheit, they banned books, and the term firefighter has changed now into people who go and burn books. They go, and if they find out about somebody hiding books, they will burn down their books, which burns down their house. And I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it because it came out in fucking, what is that, 53? So if you haven't read it yet.
wow.
I'm just,
Just
you know,
wanna spoil
look,
it.
man, I'm just saying. They burn, but the guy's on fire and he's made of paper. All right, just figure that out. But the protagonist, the protagonist is a firefighter, and he he discovers books. We'll go there. He discovers books and the power that they hold. I'll stop there, and I'll leave the wick burning for you guys.
Oh,
so you can go.
Speaking of that, man, like the theme that I've noticed so far in this episode, especially with talking about banned books, is specifically the power that books hold. We talked. I mean, I started it off with Malleus Maleficarum. One book caused several women to wrongfully lose their life over the fear of witchcraft. Mein Kampf started what may have started. It probably would have started either way, but it started the Holocaust. Take with that what you will, but books like that, books like 1984 and Animal Farm bring light to the dangers of modern day politics, or even politics in general, and how, a totalitarian regime can be very bad. And y'all mentioned the snowball effect, but like when people read these things and it catches fire, historically books have played a significant role. The Bible, even, you talk about the Bible being a significant thing for millions of people. The Catholic Church alone, I think, has over 1.8 billion members or something. I was watching the conclave the other day when the new Pope from Chicago was selected, and they were talking about how many people were within the Catholic Church. I was just interesting. I had watched the movie Conclave because it came across Prime. I was like, oh, let me check that out. And it was really interesting. I'm not Catholic, but I found it interesting. I worked for a Catholic organization at one point, so I was like, oh, cool. And then I was like, man, 1.8 billion people. So more than 10% of the world's population are Roman Catholic or Catholic in general. That kind of blew me away. That number did. Just a book like the Bible having that much significance, or Malleus Maleficarum, or something of that nature.
These motherfuckers wrecked shop because of that Bible, bro. They went around and cut the trees down, big dog. They went around and fucking wiped the plate because of that book too. And I mean, you're completely right. Books, they hold a lot of power. One, it just came to mind because I looked at Dedeaux's screen. It's a sort of off topic, but the power that they hold can be positive and negative, or it could also just show up at a bad time. Stephen King, when he was writing under his alias Richard Bachman, he wrote a book called Rage. You already have that pulled up. And it's about a school shooting. And then a little something happened. Yeah, dude, if we're going to bring up 9/11, I guess I could bring up Columbine. We're already wiped off the charts here. But yeah, man, so after Columbine, it's just pulled immediately. You know what I'm saying? I guess the power that they hold can either, like, one that was really big for me was the Emerald Tablets by Thoth. Books like the Kybalion by the I forget what they call themselves, the Three Initiates. Those books fully changed my life. I mean, seriously, threw me on a completely different directive, and that's why we ended up having this podcast. It just opened my eyes to such a more spiritual view, and just a different way of looking at things from an eagle's perspective. But then you have books like Rage that could possibly go. You have books like Mein Kampf, which could bring you there. I mean, even things like that. So the power that these books hold is what's important. You know what I'm saying?
We have to pause really quick. When we're talking about Rage, we have to talk about y'all's experience of getting ripped off on eBay. So if you're a Stephen King fan or a Richard Bachman fan who was Stephen King, who used a pen name, there's a collection of books that Rage is included in. With it being banned, obviously it's expensive, hard to find, can't find it. Well, the Bachman books is a series of 4 books, and some of the Bachman books, like certain editions, include Rage. Justin and Dedeaux found it on eBay for like $4 on a sale, and they bought it and both got scammed, and I watched them unbox it live, and they both got dude, it was funny. I would have felt bad. If y'all would have spent more money. It'd be in like 4 or 5 bucks.
Little fucking $5.
I spent $9, dude. I bought 2 copies.
Hey, Dedeaux was going to be a team player. He said he'd give me one if they were legit.
Yeah,
So respect to Dedeaux, bro. Because
he messaged me and he's like, dude, I found those Bachman books on eBay for $5. I'm like, send me that motherfucking link, boy. He sends me that bitch right off the back. I buy it. I'm all stoked. Like the next day, Dedeaux's like, dude, it would be kind of fucked up if we got ripped off. I'm like, dude, we didn't get ripped off. Come on. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, this motherfucker, dude, he got us, dude.
Dude,
Maybe
I felt bad because
don't forget the part where the ad went from $4.50 to $208, and
Yeah,
I was like,
like-
yeah, we're not getting.
He realized
He's not
what he had.
for $4.
dude, the more I looked at the eBay link, and I didn't have the heart to tell. I was like, man, I said I think they're getting scammed. The seller had like 100% approval rating, and then I got to
don't have-
looking. I was like, dude. I was like, they have like 70 copies of this book. There's no way they have 70 copies, and they're just. I was like, unless they got like an old bookstore bought it bulk or something, and they just had it. I was like, dude, this seems.
We ransacked the feedback on that
Oh,
page.
Yeah, dude.
I even wrote a bad review on their behalf, and I didn't even buy it.
Yeah,
But
fuck those guys.
Dedeaux got what books did you get, Dedeaux? It was something like bubble
Really?
blowing or something.
Yeah, they were like mass market paperbacks, dude. I'll send you the screenshot. You can put it on the outro of this
Yeah.
episode, bro.
Throw it up. I got a fucking second copy of Stephen King's Nightmares and Dreamscapes that I already have.
Which is sick.
I didn't even get a Stephen King book, dude.
Yeah, Justin,
He's just got some bullshit.
Justin, we have to put Dedeaux has a picture. It's a hand drawing. It's like a box with Bachman book scribbled in on a Snapchat writing. We've got to put that as the outro slide.
Yeah,
Bachman book.
Yeah, dude.
Man, yeah. Yeah, if y'all
That's
got any
freaking out.
copies of
The
books,
power of
send
books.
them.
They can go in a negative way. It'll make you fucking rip people off on eBay.
Yeah. It was too good to not mention in the podcast. I had to bring it
Yeah.
up.
It's relevant, man.
It is.
I
man.
hurt for you guys.
Hey, honestly, we were banned from reading those books.
Look, shout out Stephen King for actually banning his own book.
Yeah.
All
You
these
know-
other banned books you can still find. You can't find Rage
Yeah.
at all.
Part
Not
of
for hours.
part of something that me and Justin talked about last night when we was prepping for this though is I was like, there is one good aspect of banning a book. When you ban a book, what do
Popular
children want to when you ban a book, everybody wants to read the book they're not supposed to read. I was like, so it does have a good thing. And Stephen King himself, I was listening to an interview with him and he was like, oh, when I wrote this book, like Stephen King's On Writing, it was like, well, this could be used to teach in classrooms, but it has cuss words and everything else and it could be banned. He goes, well, I like that because if it's banned, kids want to read and be rebellious. They're going to go read it. So I thought that was a pretty interesting point. That is probably the only good aspect of a book ban is that people's going to want to get their hands on it and read it. So it may make somebody who doesn't read want to read. And I think that's a positive. It may be the only positive from banning books. I'm very much against banning books, but I thought that would be the only positive thing I could take away from a book ban.
I agree because if you really think about it, banning books is really only applying to kids, right? They're banning books that are that could get into could plant a seed in a young person's mind and influence the way they are as they grow up. And so if you think about like you were saying earlier, Ben, age appropriate books aren't banned. Like nobody is trying to ban like most Stephen King books because it's not targeted towards kids, right? Like so all of these books with these big ideas are what's banned. And as you said earlier, like it's like some of the historical texts and some of the stuff that's not age appropriate. I was listening to a podcast earlier today and they were talking about how if it's not age appropriate and it's like, let's imagine a 10-year-old that has the insane reading level and can read The Stand by Stephen King, right? Or 11/22/63, any of these books that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
They're not going to really understand what's happening, right? So it's not going to hold their interest. It's not going to like you're not just gonna find a kid out here understanding everything that's happening
Yeah,
in one of
the
those type.
kid that's like that fucking Oswald, and then he went back,
Right.
and then he tried
Yeah.
to get him, and then he got, and then his wife. Oh fuck.
Right. So we don't really have to worry about those books being banned. It's books
Yeah.
that can actually make a impact on the young mind. So
Yeah.
that, get into the How to Kill a Mockingbird, all, that
Yeah.
type of stuff.
And I will bring up one book specifically. Oh, what's up, Justin?
No, I was just pointing to How to Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, yeah. So,
Okay.
Justin,
I did.
there's a book that has been really buzzworthy lately because it's been brought up in Congress, and me and Justin were talking about it last night. I'll bring it up, but what made me say age appropriation, and I do think it's necessary to have age appropriation rather than an outright ban, is one book they were really pushing for to get banned. And while I don't agree with it being banned, I agree with it being age appropriated, is like All Boys Aren't Blue. And it's like an LGBTQ book, but the book does like talk about some pretty explicit things. Like I let Justin listen to an excerpt from it last night. There's a senator, and I won't normally talk about a politician in a positive light, especially on a podcast, but this politician is just hilarious. He cracks me up and it makes me laugh. But Senator Kennedy was reading it. Imagine like a 70-year-old man in Congress with like glasses on from Louisiana reading a very explicit excerpt of a very graphic scene of a book. And it cracks me up.
Scene. You should add that. It is a graphic.
Yes, a graphic sex scene. The
And
book
that's
is
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
The book is controversial because it was in some high school libraries, which when I think of that, it doesn't seem as bad because, I mean, these are kids who have already had sex education more than likely and are aware of what takes place and that kind of lifestyle, like that part of life, that aspect of life. But the book does talk about a very graphic sex scene, a gay sex scene where an uncle is molesting him. His uncle is molesting him. To me, that's like, it's really graphic. It's really disturbing. Should we allow that to be in school libraries? And that's the thing that kind of got me on this thought. Was I had read about it and I was like, oh, well, but what I was telling Justin, I was like, public libraries for sure, it should stay and everything. I don't want to take a side on it because I'm like, like you pull that out of a school library, then these kids are old enough to know about what that is. But it's so controversial because it's an incestual thing. So I can understand age appropriation, but I can't understand the banning of a book. But that book in particular is like the buzz book right now that everybody's talking about, politicians are talking about and stuff. And I'm not going to get political on it. But
I'm not familiar with. When was it published?
Recently, as far as I know. Let's see. All Boys Aren't Blue. I'm looking up real quick.
I think
No, please go ahead.
I think that you have to take it in the obviously, right, we have a very, an ever-changing political climate. And so you also have to take things like all of these books we've been talking about have been written and published like years and years and years ago, right?
This one was 2020 publication date, by the way.
So
yeah.
We're talking within the last 5 years. You have to think of the kind of like society as a whole. Like that's when I think about banning books, I think of it as like in congruence with the internet, right? Like we're gonna ban books, but a 10-year-old kid can get on an iPhone and look up anything they want to find, right? So in modern times, I think that we're a little more desensitized.
Yeah.
It probably topics like that probably make us uncomfortable. Because it's not what we're used to reading. But I also think about kids these days who are way more desensitized to horrible shit than we are, right? There's really, I don't think there's a good position to take on that because
exactly.
It makes us,
and I agree.
What I makes like I can't land on an exact answer.
I really can't either.
Philosophical question.
So here's the thing, man. Horrible shit happens in real life, right? Like I can't ever really get behind banning a book because of like sex. I can't get behind banning books in general, right? I think that as parents, or overseers, caregivers, we should monitor what our
Yeah.
child and loved ones consume, right? Like my nephew has been asking me to read it since he was like 12 years old, and I'm like, not yet, not yet,
Not
not
yet.
yet.
Yeah.
And then for his like 16th or 17th birthday, I bought him a copy of it, right? Because things don't make sense to a certain age. But horrible shit happens in real life, right? And so you see all these people banning books because of the sex or the violence or the sexual assault scenes. That type of shit happens, right? Like we
Yeah.
can't shelter people from these types of things happening. You can ban these books, but really, like you said, it really just brings attention to them. So
Yeah.
I don't, there's I think books get banned because either one, they make someone in authority uncomfortable, or two, it is a government decision because of the stuff we were talking about earlier, right?
Right. And I think all three of us are fathers. All three of us have young children. I think it's important to how you were saying, to be present and to be
Yeah.
I don't want to say controlling, because that's not the right word, and that will
Oh, but
lead
be
down
a
the wrong
parent.
path.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have
Right,
to
just be aware.
have
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
You have to teach. I mean, you have to parent these kids. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to tell them, if they come home and they're like, dude, I read this fucking insane book about this kid and his uncle,
Yeah.
and you're just going to have to sit down and be like, look, man, it's, I know life so far has been butterflies
Yeah.
and roses,
Yeah.
but
Which happens to some.
this is
Yeah.
shit that does happen. And this is unfortunately probably something that may be happening with one of your classmates, somebody
Yeah.
you may meet in the future, somebody you may gain a relationship with. And so it
That is a
would
good
be
point, dude.
beneficial to have that outlook, that understanding. But it's not necessarily like I want to sit my kid down and be like, hey, read this book about this kid and his uncle, So I
Right.
think
Yeah.
what it comes down
Kids
to
are gonna,
is
kids are gonna be curious, right? And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I read a lot of books, and I've never read um a fictional book that just like shook me to the core and like changed who I was. Like
Yeah.
we've talked about dark matter pretty extensively. Like that one made me like take a step back and like re-look at my life and really appreciate it. But nothing has like shaped or changed my character. And maybe that would be different if I was a kid, but um I books have this tremendous power, but do you think they have the power to like shape someone's life, right? Versus all of the other like content we consume, right? So like we may read one book for every 100 hours of social media we ingest, or for every 10 episodes of TV we watch. You get what I'm saying? So
no,
Yeah.
like
100%, 100%. You have to pair it with other platforms, and I mean that's something. I heard something on a podcast that was really eye opening to me. Was they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and we scroll through 10,000 fucking pictures every day when we open up our phone,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
your brain has to process all of that. You have to consume all of that, and you gain from it. And books are just a tool, and it's up to you as a human being with it's easy for us to say willpower and the ability to do what you want to do. It's not the exact same for everybody, unfortunately, in other circumstances in other countries and things like that, but we do have that freedom. It's not widow we 1984. We can choose to take excerpts from things that we consume, and you can throw out the bullshit, and you can absorb things and use it as a tool to be able to ingest things at a later date. Like I was saying with the book and your kid, and teaching them about the reality of the situations and things like that. But yeah, it's we have free will. It's
Yeah.
that's one thing that social media, in my opinion, is slowly degrading. But we currently have free will, and you are able and allowed to completely have your own thoughts and
I-
use these tools appropriately.
I'll say a few more things regarding All Boys Aren't Blue, because I want to preface that I am not for the book being banned. I am not against the LGBTQ community. That's not like, I wanted to make that clear to anybody listening
I
that
think
maybe
you
think
made it
I'm
clear. I
yeah.
think you're good on that, brother.
And another thing with it though is a book like that though, and I've thought about this even last night a little bit, like from the media, and this is a big thing regarding how we were talking about social media being like an agenda pusher and two parties manipulating social media and things like that. Like it's more of a propaganda thing. You read the media excerpts about that book, and they'll make you think it was in kindergarten libraries, and which, from what I can tell, simply wasn't the case. Like you read it and you're like, oh, it was high school libraries. Well, that's not as concerning as it being in like kindergarten through fourth grade library picture book with graphic drawing scenes. Like, no. So that was one thing I had to look into a little bit. I was like, is this what that was? But I will agree, and I want to say, like, as a parent, or if you're an adult and you have a child, like a stepson or whatever, use your better judgment to say like, hey, yeah, they can read this or not, want to say that I'm not trying to tell anybody how to parent kids or what kids should and shouldn't read. It's a slippery slope, because on one hand, I'm like, well, they don't have granny erotica in school libraries.
Damn.
Like talking about
Over.
they don't have old woman erotica soft porn,
No, that was just in my backpack.
Yeah, do they let 50 Shades of Grey into school libraries? I mean, I don't know. I haven't been into a school library in almost 10 years, so I'm not sure. But I think the
go
public.
to that thing when I was in school, dude.
Yeah, I don't think I checked out a single book in high school from our library. I don't think I did.
I think I still have a copy of War of the Worlds that I checked out in like 3rd grade. I still have that fucking book, dude.
Dude, I mean, Dedeaux sent me a picture the other day of some Hank the cow dog or whatever, and I was like, man, that flashed me back 20 years. But back to it now, man. It's like with that book in particular, it's public libraries, yes. School libraries, I'm not going to make a definitive decision on it because, one, I'm not a politician. I don't have to. Two, it's just, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting thing to talk about regardless.
That's the thing as well, is like I'm very against the government being able to tell you what to consume and how to consume it, and I'm against their overreach. I'm against.
It is overreach, man. That's plain and simple.
Government. I mean, I'm just against the government. I'm not saying I want us to go into some. I mean, I would consider myself sort of an anarchist, not in a way of like everybody let's go burn down the fucking streets and restart, but I think, if the animals led the animals, but look how that fucking turns out. So there is no right answer, and I'm also, I'm not going to say I'm a young man because I would be lying to you all, unfortunately, but I'm 26. I don't have a ton of life experience to throw under my belt, so I feel like I would just be kind of encapsulating the people that I despise. It's like, this is right, and this is how it should be, and things like that. So I don't want to even pretend like I'm falling on an exact answer, but that's why it's a weird topic, because like I agree with you. I mean, things of that graphic nature, I feel like it shouldn't be falling into hands of too young or things like that. But at the same time, I don't want it to be the government who makes that decision, because if you give them an inch, they will take over your entire country. Literally. I mean, you give them an inch, they'll fucking form a banana republic. It's that simple. Speaking
of government, I do have a few more books if we have some time.
No, please go ahead, man.
So this is like, I went to college when I was 17. I graduated high school early. I was 17, and I took English Comp 1. Justin weren't you 17 in college too, Justin? You graduated with me. I know you graduated the year early too.
I went when I was 18 and then dropped out after like 6 months.
So I also dropped out after my first semester, and then I tried again later, but I took English Comp 1 the first time in college. My professor just He wanted he gave you a syllabus, and he really didn't tell you anything. You just had to read your syllabus to know when everything was due. That was new to me coming out of high school. Anyways, I dropped out, went to work for a few years, said, this sucks. I'm going back to college. So I went back and I took English Comp 1 again and had a much better experience. And the professor I had at that time, I think her name was Miss McDonald, I think. She had us read two different books. I forgot one. It was written by like a monk or something. And it was like a socialist style political book. And it was really good. It was a good read. And you definitely get two different vibes. But she also had us read The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli.
Ooh.
And a lot of people know about this book, probably haven't read it. But to me, this book was fascinating and also terrifying. In college in English Comp 1, we were writing about it because you're reading very conflicting views when you read those two different works. I'll have to find out what the other work was that she had us read, but she had us read some good stuff. She had us read this one and then like a few short stories like Hills Like White Elephants by Ernest Hemingway. That's a pretty good. It's controversial, but it's good. But she didn't shy away from the controversial stuff. And that's what I really appreciated about her as a professor. And she made me enjoy English and reading at that portion of my life. But Niccolo Machiavelli wrote this book, and it was actually seen as an act of conspiracy, but he wrote, or I'll take that back. He was accused of organizing a conspiracy to overthrow the government at one point. The Prince, when you read it, it is about how to be a ruler. And a lot of the ideas, there's a lot of famous lines from The Prince, like it's better to be feared than loved as a leader, and war strategies and how to win, things like that. But you read The Prince. I don't know that it's ever been banned. I think it has been banned because it is so controversial. A lot of even today, like you hear the thing, oh, they're Machiavellian. It's the same as like, oh, this is Orwellian. It's Machiavelli was before then. So they're Machiavellian. And you'll hear people compare modern day politicians to a Machiavellian style politician. But it is scary when you read this book at how similar some things, same with 1984, how similar some things you read in it. You're like, this is crazy, but it seems like we're seeing this.
I mean, people like you were saying, if one of the principles of the book is if you have the option of being loved or being feared, always choose being feared, because that's what it
and a lot of it is like how to remain in power and how to be successful in power, and being feared always gets you further than being loved. It's kind of a twisted way to think, but it was interesting to read in college versus I really can't believe I forgot the other excerpts she had us read, but The Prince kind of stood out to me more, I'll be honest, because it was so out of the ordinary from what I had grown up reading in high school. But like the Canterbury Tales, this was like real deal political, controversial things. The Prince was another one. And Justin and I also talked last night, yesterday and some today about like the Bible. We've talked about the Dead Sea Scrolls in the past on the podcast, and the books of
really
Enoch.
Need to do a full Dead Sea Scrolls episode, dude.
Yeah. So Justin wasn't aware of the Apocrypha, which was a collection. I believe it is 11. I could be wrong. It should be somewhere in here. 11 books that are in some Bibles. It's still included a lot of Roman Catholic churches and stuff, but you have books like Ecclesiasticus, and there's a bunch more. There's like 11. I know Ecclesiasticus off the top of my head. The other ones I'd have to look. Basically, these wouldn't be technically banned, but like the Book of Enoch, and Justin was asking me, well, like, does this mean like they were banned or decided, oh, this is hidden knowledge or something? And realistically, this is another side of the spectrum where they wouldn't fall canon within the story of the Bible, but who decides what is and isn't canon in the Bible? You know, it kind of falls into there. But I was telling, me and Justin were talking about it. You have 3 books of Enoch that exist. The first book is really the only one that has like a credible claim to potentially be included in the Bible. Enoch isn't really talked about that much in Genesis or in the biblical text. You're like, oh, he's there. He's a good man. He was taken up to heaven by God. That's pretty much it. But then you have the Book of Enoch, and it expands further. The first Book of Enoch was written by a rabbi or prophet, and they're like, oh, well, this could be credible, but it's not canon, so we're going to exclude it. The second and third books they really don't truly know who wrote the second and third books, and they have some pretty wild ideologies that definitely don't fit into the canon of Old and New Testament, King James Version Bible as we know it. But the original Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible did include the Apocrypha, and a lot of Roman Catholic churches still do include the Apocrypha in their Bible. It's just interesting things like that, not necessarily banned, but books that are excluded, or you may have never heard of it. A lot of times, people have never heard of the Apocrypha or Ecclesiasticus or the books of, I think it's Maccabees or something of that nature. There's 2 books of Maccabees, I'm pretty sure, that are included. Not necessarily banned, but just something you may not be aware of and that may not be so easily found. I'm sure you could find a version of it online with the Apocrypha.
Right.
They
and
have.
think back to my apologies to step on your toes here, Ben.
Oh,
We
you're
had a
even stepping on my
comment
toes.
on our last video where the lady said, "Guy with glasses, stop fucking interrupting your guest," and that is stuck to my core. But think about when serfs and peasants didn't have access directly to the Bible, they had to go to church to be to learn these things. They because they didn't want them to misconstrue the
Or it was
words
written in
and things like
Latin
that.
and they didn't know how to read Latin, and the priests were the only ones that knew how to read Latin and would translate
They
it.
weren't allowed to, and that's another form of, control and things like that. Essentially, you would be banned from reading these books because you wouldn't be told of the Apocrypha because it doesn't fit in our story the way we want to construe these books and everything like that. So I essentially that would be a form of banning.
And honestly, you speak of that too. Historically, we even see all the way up until, and I hate to bring this up, but it's relevant, is up until the point of slavery. You talk about control, but they were a lot of times not taught how to read or write, because if they learned how to read or write, they knew that reading was that powerful. That kind of just, it exemplifies to me they could use reading and writing to write letters, let people know what's going on, or especially after the Emancipation Proclamation where they're supposed to be freed and they're still holding them. They may not have known that, hey, this Emancipation Proclamation was signed, we're free people.
Read the newspaper to be like, hey,
or
dude, what the fuck? Lincoln said we can get out of here, dude. What the fuck?
yeah. So reading and writing being safeguarded in the time of slavery, like that was, looking back, that's a significant portion of why maybe they didn't know what was going on, or certain things. The power of reading was pretty obvious to even piece of crap slave owners, who were keeping people to
Limiting all forms of communication. If you think back to the blues episode, we talked about how when they would be brought from their like indigenous tribes, they would intentionally separate them so that they couldn't communicate. So they would all be sent to different plantations with people who spoke a different language, which is why the blues became relevant, because they would just sing melodies, right? And so just being able to speak along with reading, writing, the basic forms of communication, that's how you control people.
Yeah.
Or give them lots of control by giving them social media and letting them write whatever they want, whenever they want.
Yeah, control, quote unquote.
Starting controlled civil wars on social media. Dude, it's crazy, man. You see people disowning friendships, like ending friendships of like 30 plus years over a political disagreement. Dude, it's crazy.
It's an
I haven't seen much that extreme, but I have seen like people that were tight, that have been tight for years, like straight up end friendships, long-term friendships over political stuff. And like, oh, I can't believe I'd see you post something or say something like this, I'm unfriending you or something. It's so stupid.
Like in your 30-year friendship, did y'all not ever talk about this in person and like agree to disagree?
Well,
the internet makes us totally different. The internet, yeah. So I'm saying the internet also makes you want to hate people, because you have every one person that you hate, you have 10,000 people behind you that would agree with you. It's very weird.
Right,
very
you get
weird.
the dopamine of oh my god, I got 5,000 likes on this hate comment and things like that.
Yes.
Right.
Weird times we're living in. 5,000 people that you don't even know. Strange.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
Even when I'm not scared of outing myself in this. You've heard my political opinion so far and what I think about the government. When Donald Trump came around, I was a huge proponent because he's a talker. The guy, he's funny. I don't think it's bad to say that people are funny that you disagree with, because I disagree with a lot of, like I said, pretty much every single politician. But there would be some times where they fucking crack me up, and that's a part of their thing, is convincing people to like them through humor and things like that. But yeah, man, I was big on old DJT, and I'll be on Facebook now, and I'm like, yeah, fuck, man, I haven't talked to this guy in forever. I wonder what he's doing. And I'll click on their profile, and it says, like, add friend. I'm like, okay, that's what happened. And so it's happened to me, too. Thankfully, thankfully for me, at least, I've fallen out of that blind worship, I would like to call it, of political figures. But yeah, man, they teach this sort of hatred, and they bring it out of your ability. They're dumbing down our reasoning skills, our ability to think deeply about things.
Or just freely, man, honestly.
You're getting so much information so fast, and your first thing is you want to talk about it. I gotta share this. I gotta give my opinion on this right now without giving. I messaged Ben the other day about a political topic. I literally read the headline of an article, and I was like, oh, fucking this person, I guess they went back on this. And Ben's like, well, hold on, let's talk about it. And I had to admit, like, yeah, dude, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I got caught in the trap, because it's so easy to get caught into the trap. So don't let me sit here and pretend like I'm Mr. fucking perfect. It's all of us. We are falling into this trap. And how we were talking about where you have to have the willpower and the freedom that you are given as a free thinker to actually fucking use it before it's completely pulled away from us and we lose it,
Justin, speaking of getting fooled, you remember when we did the episode about AI and the guy was like, you say you'll never get fooled, just watch and wait. That comment, I thought that he was like, they say they'll never be fooled.
Say they'll never be fooled, fucking idiots. Yeah, dude,
it was so funny.
We get a lot of people, which this is just, it's, part of the course, 99% positive comments. And then every now and then, dude, we'll just get some shit. And I'm like, did you even listen to what the fuck we were talking about? And then that one lady came in with the fucking people's elbow and hit me with the, dude with glasses, stop interrupting your guest and finish a thought.
Hey, she's a subscriber. We talk great about the subscriber, okay? We take that as a suggestion.
She got my ass.
Honestly, dude, I think the bad comments are hilarious. Even our little feud we had with the second Esoteric Roundtable, dude, it all cracks me up, dude.
It is funny.
It's funny.
It is funny. And, to those gentlemen, I'm sure you're very devoted and dedicated fans of our podcast, and we would like to sincerely apologize.
I like your eye contact with the camera.
I'm talking to them. I'm not talking to anyone else. Hey, I'm sorry. We're sorry.
We ain't changing our name, though.
We're not changing our fucking name, dude. You should have uploaded more than like twice. All right, we got
you.
Yeah,
you can change your name.
Subs, we got you in everything.
We on every platform.
That's right. Are you on Spotify, dude?
Are you on Apple?
Are you on Spotify and Apple and also YouTube?
And iHeartRadio? We're on there too somehow.
Damn,
and Amazon.
Did you do that?
We're on iHeartRadio, Amazon, Apple, Spotify. There's another one like
dude,
it's another.
We're clogging the machine. They fucking.
We are on every major podcasting platform that produce podcasts. We're on them, minus like a few that nobody yet. I don't even know that anybody still uses iHeartRadio, but we're on it, dude.
Hey, that means go check us out, follow us, and give us a 5-star rating on those. By the way,
I'll be honest, I'm a Spotify user, so follow us on Spotify.
Right on. Gentlemen, I think we've beat this dead horse pretty diligently here. Do we got any other?
We can talk about books all night, but I do have a question.
No,
and this question comes from my brain. Is there a book, hypothetically, that you would ban, that you just think should not exist.
Off the top of my head,
Genuinely
no.
Genuinely no.
I would have to think about this.
Because even a book like Mein Kampf, obviously,
I got, you're way too deep in it, dude.
well, no,
It's way
I'm just like, history repeats itself. It's not a question. It's not like a cliche. I mean, I guess it's cliche to say it, but it's so fucking obvious. It's over and over. History repeats itself over and over again. And when you go back from the Ministry of Truth and you delete these things and you, oh, what's up, hello, doggy. When you delete that, we needed that for the sub count, by the way. I appreciate that. But when you go back and delete these truths and delete these, you know, the thought processes and the little bit of the snowball that could steamroll into something else, the people never have the chance to know what caused something, and they'll never. It's like the Plato's cave.
Allegory of the cave, yeah.
Yeah, they will never fully understand the outside world because their brains are completely incapable of processing that information. Like, they will never understand it because they have never actually seen it. So I think it's important, even a kid with his weirdo uncle, Mein Kampf, the book about witches, things like that. I think these are, just because it's around doesn't mean it's a good thing, but it is very fucking important to have these things so we don't keep making these mistakes because we're just pattern recognizing animals. That's what we are. We recognize the patterns, but we keep letting the same shit happen.
Now, I will say, dude,
over and over again.
If Kanye releases Yay Conf, dude, we need to ban that one, dude. That's the one. If he releases Yay Conf, dude, that needs to get banned.
We might need to ban Yay Conf.
That was a very deep and well thought out philosophical answer to a question that I did not expect to be that deep. I was being kind of candid about it because I read a lot of stuff. And at the time, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you haven't read American Psycho, don't read it, dude. At the time, I was on Reddit too much, man, and it was the same thing. Like, this book is, don't read it. It's terrible. You should ban it. And I read it when we were at the grocery store, man. I specifically remember sitting in the manager's office reading that book while you were probably working.
Yeah, he was my manager back in the day, by the way. That's
and it's interesting. No, I do agree with you. I wouldn't ban anything, but it's interesting how at that time in my life I was so interested, and I don't want to use the word fascinated by that book because that'll make me a weirdo. But I was very interested in it, right? Now fast forward 10, 12 years later, I'm a dad, I have 2 dogs, like, I live a normal life, and I'm like, that book disgusts me, right?
100%.
So, look, just take that as you will, but yeah,
it's kind of the same thing with me. I read a good bit of Berserk, which is a manga, and they did anime adaptations of it. It's fucked up for no reason. There's a billion rape scenes. There's slaughtering. It's to the point where it's just like, for my mental health, I can no longer consume this.
Exactly, and that's how Psycho is. It's filled with this stuff, and there's no story whatsoever. I do understand the concept that it's a glimpse into an actual person that's living with psychopathy. Like, I understand the purpose behind it, but it just is so much, and it's like, there's a purpose, there's a reason, and like you're saying, we can identify that if we've read that book, but like, geez, man.
I've never even watched the movie.
I guess
the movie's like watching The Little Mermaid compared to the book.
I think that leads to maybe where I put my foot. Maybe I can make an actual assertion on the topic is the fine line between a like an authoritarian ban on a book as opposed to a personal ban on a book. Don't let the fucking government or any person of authority tell you to not consume a book, but you can, like you mentioning American Psycho, I'm not gonna go read that fucking book. That is a banned book for me because I don't need that in my life, dude. I stopped reading Berserk because I didn't need that in my life anymore. So maybe that's where I can put my foot down, is that banning books because somebody else told you to, kick fucking rocks. But use your willpower and your thoughts and your ideas to make a stand to ban a book for your personal consumption, or
Man,
your children or whatever.
You and Dedeaux have. Ooh, I'm sorry, Dedeaux. Go ahead.
No, I feel like what you're gonna say is better. You go
Oh
first.
no, I was just gonna say I feel like Justin and Dedeaux have almost convinced me to personally ban the Cormac McCarthy books, and I've never read them. Dedeaux, I picked up The Road by Cormac McCarthy, and Dedeaux was like, "Dude, that book is heavy, dude." He goes, "That book is very heavy." And the woman at the bookstore was like, "It's really good. It's like his best work. It's Pulitzer Prize winning." And Dedeaux was like, "Dude, that book is heavy." And then Justin, yeah, I've heard it's good,
but it is an amazing book.
Yeah. And then Justin was like, I picked up Blood Meridian because I heard Dedeaux and Justin been like, Blood Meridian is really good. And Justin was like, bro, Blood Meridian is insane. So I've got to read it now to find out, you know.
I equate reading McCarthy to lifting weights because god damn it is heavy and it burns.
It's good for you.
It's in the long run. Maybe not. I don't know. I like it. I thought it was good. It kept me interested. I was explaining.
Hemingway is the only author.
It's like a car crash you pass on the interstate. You're like, oh, dude, that car is cut in half. They're definitely dead. But you're like, watching it happen, you have to see. You know what I'm saying?
It is crazy that effect can be passed along through writing. It really does kind of blow my mind the more I think of it.
I think you have to have a certain level of skill to do it.
Yeah. Hemingway is the only author that I've ever read, and I've only read some of his short stories. I've never read any of his actual, like, really long works, but Hills Like White Elephants, dude, had me, like, in a moral dilemma for several days. And if y'all don't, that book is about a topic that is very, I'm not going to bring up, but it's about read Hills Like White Elephants and figure it out. It's not going to come out and say it. It's very coded, but the little short story will have you thinking for a long time. At least it did me. So that Hemingway had that effect on me. So I'm going into Cormac McCarthy stuff thinking it's going to be similar to Hemingway, and I'm probably very wrong. Probably very, very wrong.
I'll give my thought that I was going to give earlier when I let Ben talk, but I think that your Justin's deciphering or deciding that, like, if you're not interested in something, great. The only thing that I would add on to that is, if you are a parent or if you are in charge of some younger person, I think that you could probably ban a book for them for the time being, or make them wait until it's the right time. And, when it's the right time, read it with them, right? Or if they bring you a book that's like, I want to read this book, read it first. Read it first. See what's in it. Say, okay, yeah, or no, you should wait a little while with this.
Right. And that kind of plays, man, and that's where my mind goes when I hear of, like, people wanting to pull certain books out of school libraries, because part of me is like, oh man, why are our tax dollars funding this kind of stuff to be in school libraries for children? And then I'm like, parents should be the ones to dictate that. And then I have my wife, who's a teacher, come home from school. She goes, these parents are trash. They don't even wash their clothes. And I'm like, do the parents have what it takes to tell them they can't? Like, they probably don't care. So,
bless, man.
Dude, this is why I'm not a politician. I can't make decisions like that. I don't even know what to think about it. I really don't. I'm like, y'all do what y'all want to do. I don't care. I'm going to be a good parent. That's what I'm going to do.
Right.
That's it.
Right. Yeah, man. I mean, you have to use your best judgment on things like this, you know, and don't let somebody else's judgment impede on your life as much as possible.
That's right. That's right, kids. Don't let anybody but your parents tell you what you can't read.
Exactly. First learn
Or
to
else.
read, and then do that. Well, gentlemen, we got an hour 20 on the topic. I'm actually impressed by that. We had I'm really happy with the discussion. I think we did a really good job on it. First episode back, quite a few months. Feels good to be back. It's my luck that my entire computer just exploded right before all of this happened. So I apologize if the quality isn't up to our older standards and things like that, but we will be back fully in our normal operations soon enough. But yeah, I think we've covered the topic as best as we can. So it's up to you to decide. You know, let us know in the comments what you disagree with. If you think that I stepped on too many toes, you know, guy with glasses, shut the fuck up. You know, just whatever you feel is necessary to let me know. But most importantly, what we ask you to do is to keep an open mind. Dedeaux, I'm waiting for you, by the way. Just keep an open mind. If you
I was
okay, yeah, appreciate that. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Peace out.